It's a big day today, and joining us to talk about the World Cup is sports scientist and presenter on Radio Unilag 103.1 FM, Seun Ajidagba. Glad to have you join us, Seun.
Philemon, it's a pleasure to always be here.
How do you feel? The World Cup is upon us. It's a 4-year wait. It seemed 4 years to come in 2014. From 2014 was so long to come, but here it is. How do you feel to witness another World Cup starting today?
Well, they got the hosting right some 8 years ago, and 4 years was the last time we witnessed the biggest football competition in the world, which is the FIFA World Cup. And before we could say Jack Robinson, the FIFA World Cup is right in our faces. Something that was years, it became months, it became weeks, it became days, and now we left with some hours for the opening ceremony of the World Cup to start. Russia against Saudi Arabia at the Luzhniki Stadium. We can't just wait for the buzz to get started. But the buzz started yesterday when Julen Lopetegui was actually asked by the Spanish Football Federation president. That was the first casualty. And to think that somebody who had not even lost a single game and played some scintillating football with La Furia will be the first person to get the sack letter is absolutely shocking.
But what does that tell you about, well, maybe it's not just about performance, about values. Would you have sacked, if you were club president or FA president, would you have sacked the manager simply because he was negotiating for another deal? I mean, after the World Cup, his contract will probably run out.
Unfortunately, the Spanish Football Federation president is not a sport and exercise psychologist. If you were to be a sport and exercise psychologist who understood the psychology of sports and how he plays on the team, he wouldn't be so rash in his decision. I understand that he got the notice some 5 minutes before the announcement was made. Yes, Florentino Perez, the Real Madrid president, made a mistake. Julen Lopetegui also made a mistake. But in psychology, most especially sport and exercise psychology, we hate the game, we don't hate the player. More importantly, that he has a ripple effect on the entire team and a psychological effect on the team. Remember, one of the big mafias in the team, Sergio Ramos, told the president, leave this man for us. Let him, take us through the World Cup. But he decided to take a personal decision, not in the best interest of the nation. That's the honest truth.
So what we should be expecting from the Spanish national team at this time is a hoodoo with the psychological effects.
We are talking about, we are talking about Fernando Hierro, not to take anything away from him, but he does not understand this team. He does not understand the philosophy of Lopetegui. And will he be willing and ready to come down to the level of Lopetegui? Sorry, what were you doing before you got the sack? What I would have thought that the Spanish Football Federation president should have done was to just promote the assistant coach who understands the routine in that squad, who understands the philosophy of Lopetegui. Because like they say in local parlance, when Stope says with leaf, it becomes what it is.
It becomes a soap.
Yes, so he understood the philosophy of Lopetegui. And the question is, will the backroom staff of Lopetegui be ready to work with the philosophy of Fernando Hierro? Because no two coaches have the same philosophy.
Right. Well, that's Spain. It means effectively we are ruling out a good performance by Spain, as it were. So let's go to Russia as a host. Considering the circumstances, that brought Russia as host, do you think they're going to play a good host to the world?
A lot of people are a bit skeptical going by the rules that they are bringing, and for who Vladimir Putin is as a president. But we are expecting a spectacle because it's not about Russia now. It's about FIFA, who wants a wonderful World Cup. They've prepared so well. We do hope that their attitude of always engaging in racism will not see the light of day. Because just some 3 days after they got the hosting right, some 8 years ago, they began this racist attitude. And even when France went to go and play a friendly match, remember Paul Pogba, this young man in Chelsea, N'Golo Kante, where they use some words that are not good, but we just hope that we're going to have a spectacle. But all in all, we are in for a wonderful tournament. Remember, this is the first tournament that VAR will be used. 33 cameras will be on display. 8 will be for slow motion. But the man who, is in charge of referees, Pelegi Colina and Massimo Busaka, have said, don't expect total perfection. They are trying to cross the T's and dot the I's. And they've also told the assistant referee, in a situation we see an offside that is not so glaring, drop your flag.
How does weather affect the game of football? Well, this is probably the fairest of weathers in Russia at this period because Russia is generally cold. How do you think that's going to play out on the performance of the teams?
Sometimes if the weather is too cold, it has a way of affecting players. But again, I would have thought that the federation of every country, a right-thinking federation, in line with their kit sponsor, would say, we are envisaging so and so weather. So prepare the kits in line with this weather. There are some kits that, when the weather is so cold, you will not feel it too much. And when the weather is hot, you will not so feel it. So it's you that will work with the kit manufacturer to say, help us get this kind of jersey that will be suitable for our team.
Now, the two lowest ranked teams, the hosts, Russia and Saudi Arabia, are going to kickstart the game. What does that say in terms of the quality of what to expect and the quality of play in the World Cup if the two lowest ranked teams are playing the opener?
That's according to FIFA in terms of rankings. I'm not a ranking person because sometimes this ranking can be shrouded in secrecy and can be so confusing. But that's what it is. They said they are the two lowest ranked teams. And a lot of people are even saying they look like the two. In a situation we see an offside that is not so glaring, drop your flag.
How does weather affect the game of football? Well, this is probably the fairest of weathers in Russia at this period because Russia is generally cold. How do you think that's going to play out on the performance of the teams?
Sometimes if the weather is too cold, it has a way of affecting players. But again, I would have thought that the federation of every country, a right-thinking federation, in line with their kit sponsor, would say, we are envisaging so and so weather. So prepare the kits in line with this weather. There are some kits that, when the weather is so cold, you will not feel it too much. And when the weather is hot, you will not so feel it. So it's you that will work with the kit manufacturer to say, help us get this kind of jersey that will be suitable for our team.
Now, the two lowest ranked teams, the hosts, Russia and Saudi Arabia, are going to kickstart the game. What does that say in terms of the quality of what to expect and the quality of play in the World Cup if the two lowest ranked teams are playing the opener?
That's according to FIFA in terms of rankings. I'm not a ranking person because sometimes this ranking can be shrouded in secrecy and can be so confusing. But that's what it is. They said they are the two lowest ranked teams. And a lot of people are even saying they look like the two teams that would get knocked out of that group that has Uruguay and also Egypt. But we are in for a treat. I'm sure it's going to be an amazing game. Even there's a cat that is already picking Russia to beat Saudi Arabia. And I said to myself, a cat that stays in Russia, what would the cat do? The cat will pick Russia because if the cat picks Saudi Arabia, by now, the cat will be under the ground. They will have killed the cat. So the cat is just doing the needful because, animals are now getting wiser now. So the cat just, and there's a pig also who is tipping Nigeria to get to the semi-final of the World Cup. I hope the pig will not become a pork.
Okay, right. So let's look at it. Which teams? Considering the 5 African teams and the eternal favorites, either Brazil or Germany or what other team, who do you think will be the standout teams here finally?
They said Nigeria is the 19th likeliest team to win the World Cup, according to statistics and going by the personnel that they have. They've picked Brazil to win the World Cup because of the caliber of players. They picked Germany and they picked Argentina. But the little boy inside of me is telling me it's either Brazil or Germany. And in terms of Africa, one team I'm looking out for is a team under Aliou Cisse, Senegal.
Well, that's all there, Seun Ajidagba. Thank you so much for coming on the Breakfast Show this morning. Well, that will be all of sports. A pig has picked Nigeria. Well, That's very interesting to me. But then, of course, the breakfast show will continue with Mike and